Hey man, so this is my video. I'm going to be showing you hopefully, or I'm just going to try to show you what we did all last week when you weren't here. I'm going to do my best, so just bear with me. So this is our column and base plate. There's no screws, there's no bolts in the base plate right now. I don't know if we're going to add those or not because he didn't really seem like they were really that important. But I'm going to still show you how to bore the holes through the base plate. And this is column. You can see this is all one object, the base plate, and the column is also its own object. They're not blocks, they are polylines or polygons. So if you don't have 3D up, which you probably don't, and you'll need this visualized too, you're going to have to come up here and right click and go down to show tabs and make sure that 3D tools and visualize are checked. We didn't do anything with visualize, the visualize tab today, but he might show us more next week whenever you come back. We just mainly focused on the 3D tools right here. So what we need to talk about first is our viewports and drawing in 2D. We've been drawing in 2D this whole time. I don't know if you've done this in any of your other classes, but the thing about 3D is there is a y-axis, there's an x-axis, and then there's a z-axis, which is actually coming towards us or pushing away from us. If I switch views, you'll see that I drew this in 3D along the z-axis. See, right now we're on the front view and everything's going up. We've been drawing in the top view this whole time in all our classes. So you got that, the z-axis and everything. Oh yeah, viewports. So when drawing in 3D, and Mr. Boucheri did this, I think this is also a pretty good idea. You want to have different viewport windows for looking at your object. I mainly draw in this big window because there's a lot more space. I like to have one 3D window, and since this is the top view, I'm going to make this one the front view. Because we always, when drawing in 3D, we want to see what we're doing at all times, at every angle possible, so we don't make any mistakes. Mr. Boucheri also suggested that, let me make sure I'm still recording. Yeah. Okay, is it picking up my mic? Okay, yeah. Alright, so Mr. Boucheri also suggested that whenever we draw, we make a copy of the object before we start extruding it and everything. Okay, so let's get started on this drawing. We're making a column with base plate with two bored out holes for bolts. And I sent him an email and a question with a question asking, because I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but the drawing in the book on page 34 doesn't specify the size for the bolt, the size of the hole, the diameter. So it doesn't even specify the size of the base plate for the column to go on, to be welded. So we just had to guess. Basically, that's pretty much all we did. He said if there's no size specification, then to just guess. And I think that goes for connection details as well, because the erection crews just want to see how everything should be connecting. I don't think it really matters. Well, as far as we know right now, as skilled as we are in school, that's all we know so far. That's what we've been told. All right, so size of the base plate. We're going to start with, and it has to be a polygon too. You can't make it with lines unless you, I think you can just like, I mean, maybe you can make it with lines. Let's make a 20-inch squared base plate and try joining it. Yeah, you can do that if you want, but it's a lot more trouble. Alright, so our base plate is 20 inches by 20 inches squared. I'll move it a little bit further away. From this base plate we already have here. I mean, this column, whatever. Alright, so this is our base plate. It's just a square right now, but I promise you we're gonna make some magic happen in 3D. Also about the viewports, you can click on each one of them once and you're in it. You can also change from 2D wireframe to shaded, so you can see that all this is solid and hollow, even the column. So we're going to leave that right there. Okay, back to this drawing. So the column is 10 inches by 10 inches, and it is a 1/4 inch offset inside. So it's a 1/4 inch thick, and it's tube steel. That's what the TS stands for. Steel tube, it says underneath the that leader right there in the notes. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go back to our rectangle command, and we're going to choose the fillet subsidiary right here. And we're going to choose 1/4 inch to fillet. Start from anywhere, doesn't matter where. And make sure that it's 10 inches by 10 inches. And you can see that it's got a little fillet right here. And that's exactly what we want. Because it's also, let me pull this out. This is also a 1/4 inch in radius. That's just how the tube steel is made. Alright, now what we're going to do again is we're going to offset a 1/4 inch. And you can see that it did not match the qualities of our previous square that we made, our previous polygon. So we're going to have to go in and fix that with the fillet command. So click on fillet and click on radius. It's already got a 1/4 inch for us ready. And we select our first line and our next line. Press the space bar to repeat the command. And go all the way around. Alright, now our column is ready. We're just going to grab the midpoints and find the center. So we can find the center. And we're going to do the same thing with the base plate. Alright, so now we have our column and base plate set up. Next thing we're going to do is work on these holes. So what I did was I started from right here, and I believe I went 1.5 inches over and 1.5 inches up. That's not what I wanted to do. So I'm just going to start this over 1 inch. Or you know what, let's just make the damn circle. So the diameter of the holes are going to be 3/4 inch for our bolts. Move it here at the corner, and then I'm just going to move it up 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. See how that looks. It doesn't really look like the book. So I'm going to undo that, and we're going to move it up and over 2.5 inches instead, and see how that looks. That looks a lot better. And what we'll do now is we'll just mirror it over all the way around our polygon, our base plate. Alright, so everything's set up, and we're ready to work in 3D. Okay, so now that we've made everything, you can see that everything is a complete polygon. Our circles are polygons, the base plate, the column. None of these are single lines. If we just made like something like this, we wouldn't be able to make it 3D because they're all just singular objects. It would have to be a solid object, a solid closed object like we have here with our circles and squares. Our where's structural? There it is. So if we brought a beam out here, blocks cannot be extruded with 3D commands. He told us that we would have to do first is explode it, and then I think we can we join it? Would that be easier? Yeah, we can. Alright, so what we would have to do is explode it and then join it in order for us to work with this in 3D. And to get rid of all this stuff, you just go to parametric and hide all with everything. But we're just going to delete this because we don't need that beam. That was just something we went over. Okay. So we went over the extrude command, which is what I mostly used to make this column. Let me just bring up the properties. Alright, here's our properties tool palette. Alright, so what we went over in properties was we went over thickness and we went over elevation. So everything right now is sitting on the X and Y axis. It's like flat with this coordinate right here. or it should be. Okay, so this is just like a coordinate I made because, so drawing in the 3D, drawing with 3D, let's say if you're drawing in 3D and you try to draw a line from here, from this corner over here to this thing, it's not always going to work, that's why I have this new coordinate right here. I believe it's a new coordinate. You can make them with this 3D tool right here in coordinates. You're going to have to tinker with this a little bit so that if you're drawing in 3D, AutoCAD will understand what axis you're trying to draw on. But if you're going to draw in 3D, like on this particular view, you need to make sure that you are actually making a line from here to here. I feel like I'm getting off track a lot. Okay, so we're using the extrude command. 3D tools. Extrude can be found in solid editing, I think. Never mind. It's over here in modeling. And you're going to click on it. And you're going to select these two objects to extrude. Get into this window, press enter, and it's going to ask you how far, which direction and how far you want to extrude these objects. So the book says that this column is 13 feet and 5 3/8 inches. So we're going to input that real quick. 13 feet. Okay, 13 feet, 5 3/8 inches. And you can see that it's now the exact same height. It matches the other column and base plate, the finished column and base plate. Now what we're going to do is, right now we've extruded both of these, and that was for a reason. And the reason is we're going to make this column hollow. So the way we do that is with the subtract command. So we're going to click on this, come over here, and we're going to pick our larger object, which is a larger larger number, for example. Hit enter, and we're going to select our smaller object, which, for example, would be the smaller number. And we're going to click enter, and it's going to subtract the smaller object. And our column is now hollow. Okay, so we're halfway done right now. What we're going to do next is we're going to extrude all of these objects, including the holes. Hold down shift while you're selecting to select more objects, and hit enter. And we're going to say that we want to go down 3/8 inches because that's how thick the base plate is. And you can see that it extruded the holes, or it extruded our circles, which are inside the base plate right now. And that's a good thing because we actually do want that, because I believe we have to extrude them before we have to make them solid, and going through the other object before we can subtract them, I believe. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to use the subtract command again, and we're going to select the base plate itself, enter. We're going to select our holes, hold down shift, select the other ones, and hit enter. Now we've completed our base plate, and you're pretty much caught up in class. I'm going to show you the other commands and how they work. Like, I'm going to show you slice. We didn't use that. I don't think we're going to use that in class. This is just for like a section view, I believe. If you wanted to make one, it cuts into the object and you can reveal like the inside of this column. The revolve command. So I will make an object right here on the top view. And revolve command is pretty much for making, like, if you only wanted to draw a portion of an object and rotate it around itself. I guess like valve or flange. So we're going to join all these so it's a solid polygon. And we're going to go back to our 3D tools and use the revolve command and select all of these objects, and we're going to pick the axis along how we want to rotate it, the axis to rotate it on, and we're going to choose this right here. And you can see in our 3D view, if I hold shift and the middle mouse button, I press it, I can revolve our 3D view as I please. Just the middle mouse button is to pan around the view. And you can see that our object is revolving. I'm going to come back to this view and turn my polar on. And it's completely revolved around itself. Okay. What you can also do is you can guide objects along a path whenever you extrude. And what I'm going to do is get into the top view. Or actually, I'm going to delete this. So I need to change the coordinate system in this view right here, so that AutoCAD will recognize what I mean whenever I want to draw straight up this way. You see how drawing straight up in the air in the front view looks somewhat different in all the other views. AutoCAD doesn't know which way I want to be drawing this. So I'm going to tell it which way that I want to draw with the 3-point coordinate system. And the first thing I need to do is actually make something. Oh, I can actually just use the column right here. Because you have to have something that's like going straight up. So I'm in my 3D tools all the way over to the 3-point system, and I'm going to click on this corner, find this endpoint, which will be my x-axis, And then I'll just draw straight up. Come on, man. Alright, I'm going to use this over here instead. That actually... Okay. I'm going to use this corner right here. Use this endpoint for the X. And this one for the Y. It's showing Z right now. Right there next to my crosshair. But that's actually what it's what the plane is right here that I'm drawing on. It's just telling me that I'm drawing that this is the Z axis, and if I click, it's changing it to the Y axis. So now in this view, AutoCAD knows which direction I want to be drawing and everything. So I know this is all confusing, this is going to take some time to understand, but I'm going to grab the center right here, and then I'm going to come to this view, and I'm going to go straight up and over. Whoa. Okay, so we've created our path. I'll make sure I'm in the top view in this window. Come over to the circle. Why is this being funky? Where's my crosshairs? AutoCAD's being really weird right here. I can't see my crosshairs. That's weird. That hasn't happened to me yet before. So I'm just going to grab the center and create another circle. Go back to 3D Tools and extrude both of these. Click Enter. We're selecting our distance right now, but what I'm going to do instead is choose Path, and I'm going to click on this line. And it's just extruded both of those circles. It's made them solid as well, and along the path. Okay. So I'm going to be doing the same thing that I did earlier, and I'm going to subtract the inner circle to make this an actual pipe that is hollow. Outer first, inner, and then the inner one, inner. And now we have a solid pipe. I know this is a lot to take in. Just gotta kind of let it soak in. Okay. Not sure what the thing next to the crosshair means. What we're going to do next is I'm going to show you the thickness thing we were talking about earlier. I was talking about thickness and elevation, wherever that's at. It's not on here. I don't know why it went away. But, oh yeah, it's because I wasn't. Well, it's still not really on here. It looks like this is drawn above the Z-axis a little bit. Anyways, thickness is the thickness of the shape. And you might be thinking that, well, it's the same thing as the extrude command, but it's really not. You can see right here that it only makes the outside of the polygon solid. It doesn't do anything with the inside of it. There's all this air, and it's not solid. That's what thickness does. You can input a -3 inches, and it'll actually go down below the x-axis. And that's another thing too. Bring us to our front view here. So everything that we've been drawing so far is on the x-axis perfectly. Now I don't know what happened to elevation in the properties whenever I select something. Come on, man. No, I'm not sure what happened to elevation, but elevation is pretty much just like if you change the elevation to like -3 inches, then it would just like be below the x-axis 3 inches. And if it's positive like 5 inches or 5 feet, then it'd be drawn way up here above the x-axis. That's just pretty much it. Hope this helped out a little bit. This is all I've done so far. I haven't done anything with the framing system, but he wants us to draw the rest of the framing system in 3D as well. And that's pretty much our problem for the week. That's what he wants us to do. I don't know if he wants us to do the other work at the end of the textbook. I'm actually going to send him an email asking him about that, because he said not to worry about it, but it was kind of weird how he said it. Like, I don't know. I'll find out more on that later, but we know for sure that he wants us to draw this in 3D, and so that's pretty much it.